In the early hours of January 3rd, 2026, the United States launched a large-scale military operation against Venezuela, culminating in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, according to U.S. President Donald Trump. The dramatic escalation marks one of the most significant U.S. military interventions in Latin America in decades and underscores a dramatic shift in Washington's approach to regional security and combating narcotics trafficking. A night of explosions and military action. Shortly before dawn in Venezuela's capital Caracas, residents reported multiple explosions and the sound of low-flying aircraft, indicating coordinated strikes on key military installations and infrastructure. Explosions were heard near strategic facilities, such as the Fuerte Tayuna military complex and airports, with reports of at least 7 separate detonations. The attacks lasted roughly 30 minutes and were part of what Trump described as a large-scale strike against the Venezuelan government. Following the strikes, Trump took to his social media platform Truth Social to announce that Maduro and his wife had been captured and flown out of Venezuela, calling the operation successful and saying further details will be provided at a scheduled press conference. U.S. justification and strategic context. The Trump administration has spent months building pressure on the Maduro government. Since mid-2025, the U.S. has deployed significant military assets to the Caribbean under Operation Southern Spear, launched air and sea strikes on suspected drug trafficking vessels, and imposed a naval blockade on Venezuelan oil tankers. American officials have repeatedly accused Maduro of leading or abetting drug cartels and labeled his government and affiliated networks as foreign terrorist organizations. While Trump's administration frames its campaign as a counter-narco-terrorism effort, critics, including members of the U.S. Congress and international legal experts, have raised concerns about the lack of clear congressional authorization for military action and the implications for international law. Venezuelan government's response. The Venezuelan government strongly denounced the strikes as military aggression and an illegal act violating its sovereignty. Caracas declared a nationwide state of emergency, urged citizens to mobilize in defense, and demanded proof of life for Maduro and his wife after the U.S. announcement. Venezuelan authorities insist the attacks targeted both civilian and military sites and have called for international condemnation. Regional and global reactions. The reaction across Latin America and beyond has been sharply divided. Colombia's government called for an emergency United Nations Security Council meeting, highlighting fears of regional instability and a potential refugee influx. Meanwhile, allied governments such as Argentina's president praised the U.S. action, and European voices have urged restraint and adherence to international law. Cuba and Russia condemned the strikes as imperialist aggression. International organizations and analysts warn that while the capture of a sitting head of state by a foreign power is unprecedented in the region since the 1989 U.S. invasion of Panama, it raises profound questions about sovereignty, legality, and long-term stability in Venezuela and across Latin America. What comes next? With Maduro's future uncertain, even beyond U.S. custody, the political landscape in Venezuela remains highly unstable. The nation faces a potential power vacuum, and questions loom over whether Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez will assume control or if broader institutional collapse could trigger mass unrest or civil conflict. Regional governments are preparing for refugee flows, and diplomats are calling for urgent talks to prevent further escalation.